What is going on, everybody? AHS Rules back again with another video, and we are here for another Ring of Honor television review, episode 16 to be exact. If you're a weekly viewer of my ROH reviews, thank you. I appreciate you. But you're probably wondering, why the hell is your lighting way worse, and why are you at a different setup? Long story short, my light at the moment that it lights my whole room is currently jammed, and I don't want to further jam it to the chain that I use, and so it will hopefully be fixed during the weekend, and maybe next time that you watch a video of mine, you can see my ugly face a lot better. But you know me, I want to get my ROH TV reviews out, or all my videos I should say, out, especially the TV reviews, in a timely manner. So this time around, it's episode 16. A lot of stuff happened on this episode. Let's get right to it. One thing that I will note before this, we had a lot of pre-match promos, so I'll try my best to remember everything. I did write down a majority of them. I don't think I missed any, so hopefully I can encapsulate what happened in those. So, the opening contest is a TV title match. Samoa Joe versus Matt Seidel. Samoa Joe is 40 days away from breaking Jay Lethal's second TV title reign to have the longest TV title reign in one reign, not combined days. I researched and looked at the TV title history, and I got confused because they do it by combined reigns, but they did mention on commentary that Joe is 40 days away, so I wanted to double check it, and I confused myself a lot more. Pre-match promos from both men. Seidel says that he's the only man in the locker room that has guts to call out to Samoa Joe and that he wants to become TV champion. And Samoa Joe says that I almost called him Mike Seidel, which is his brother. Matt Seidel might become a champion one day, but his path to become champion does not go through him. The match starts, and Joe keeps him cornered until they go to the outside, and Matt Seidel hits a meteor while out there. But once they get back in the ring, Joe corners him again. Seidel fights back with chops and kicks, and Joe attempts a pop-up powerbomb, but is reversed into a Hurricane Rana. And then Matt Seidel hits another meteor for a 2 count. Seidel attempts to hit another top rope maneuver, but is stopped by Samoa Joe, who wins the matchup with a muscle buster. Next matchup. I might mispronounce his name. I've slightly forgotten how it is said. I have Googled it once again. I believe it is Demois versus Nick Camarado. This is Demois' first match in Ring of Honor. And to start the matchup, he outpowers Camarado and continues this until they are on the outside, and Nick Camarado slams him to the ring steps. Once they get back in the ring, Demois is able to hit a spine buster and running big boot for a 2 count, but Camarado wins the match with an Alabama slam. Demois appears once again because he manages another competitor that I'll get to later on. Next matchup is Tracy Williams and Rhett Titus versus the Iron Savages. Williams and Bronson start the match off with forearms, but soon all the men enter the ring with the Iron Savages body slamming their opponents. Titus has to take on both of his opponents by himself once Williams was knocked off the apron. Eventually, Williams is able to come back, and he and Titus body slam Boulder. And then they continue to double team until Bronson comes into the ring, leading to the Iron Savages winning with the elevator drop, which I've reviewed a handful of Iron Savage matchups, and I finally looked up what their finishing maneuver is called, because they never say it, and it's called the elevator drop. And the matchup kind of got a little bit confusing and out of hand, because the commentators were like, oh, they're taking advantage of the 5 count rule in tag team matchups, when the referee is literally just standing in the corner like, not even counting whatsoever. So that's why a lot of all 4 men were in the matchup at the same time. Next matchup is Diamante versus Teal Piper, who, yes, is the daughter of Roddy Piper and has had a match before in AEW, I believe, if I'm correct. And I like being a nerd, being a mark, knowing everything. I believe it was at All Out 2019 in the Casino Battle Royale for the women. And this is a little bit of side note. I like doing side notes and getting off track. I do Wrestling Jeopardy. I create Wrestling Jeopardies on Jeopardy Labs. If you ever type in 101 Wrestling Jeopardy, that is me. I made those. Some of these are lost, however. I've made at least 15. So if you ever get bored, check out the Jeopardy Labs. But one of the questions I made was a subject. It's like, this has only happened once. So, for example, the first question was like, in 2022, Gunther was pinned only once. Who pinned him? It was Braun Breaker. And then, as Jeopardy, you all know, they progress. And the higher the question is, the more points you get. And it's supposed to be the hardest question. And the question I made was, which WWE Hall of Famer's daughter had only one wrestling match, and it took place in that casino battle royale? And the answer was Till Piper. So she, I guess, is in the back in the mix of this. She also was accompanied by D. Moise, which Till Piper accompanied him in his matchup earlier. And guess what? D. Moise was not paying attention or not selling, and kind of didn't even seem like he had a match when he was accompanying her. So this was a lot to uncover, but I just wanted to get it off my chest. And everything that I said was probably a lot longer than the matchup, as Diamante dominates until Piper sparks a comeback once she uses an eye poke. But Diamante wins the matchup once Piper passes out of Diamante's sleeper hold. And after the match, she tells Tony Khan in the camera he didn't appear yet, to get her some better competition. Next matchup, Tony Nese versus Sir Pentico. Now, if you just thought my rant was extremely long, then you would not have liked this. Because earlier in the night, Tony Nese, Smart Mark Sterling, and Ari Daivari said they had a revelation and an announcement to make. This is earlier in the show. Then eventually they come out to the ring and they cut a very long promo in which they said that the main reason that they have not been able to connect with the fans is that they cannot relate to the fans because, and I quote, they are fat pieces of trash. And so they have now come to the realization that the fans need to exercise and they will lead the way. So we did not get a matchup. We got an exercise segment led by Ari Daivari and Tony Nese that involved crunches, push-ups, and then Sir Pentico came out to set up the matchup that happened, and Tony Nese dominated the matchup, winning with the running Nese or knees, whatever you want to call it. And like I said, this took a long time. So you think I wasted a lot of your time? They wasted a lot of my time. So I guess I'm even. Next matchup, the Notorious Mimi versus Miranda Alizé. Alizé has the advantage early via running boot into the corner and wins the matchup with a cutter and a Shining Wizard, which I will be honest with you, as I was just reading this, I'm like, the Notorious Mimi definitely did something. But apparently not, because I did not write it down. Flipping the page. The next matchup was Dalton Castle and the Boys versus Stu Grayson and the Righteous. Dalton Castle starts the matchup off, but he immediately tags out, and Brent comes in, and this is Brent's first matchup since being attacked backstage, which we never figured out who attacked him, but we can all point fingers at the embassy, and even the commentators are like, oh yeah, the embassy. We never saw it, but we know that they attacked him. So Brent and Vincent start the match off, and Brent is very aggressive as he's just trying to get his feet wet after his first match back in, but that aggression stops once Grayson tags in, and he takes out Castle on the outside. Then the Righteous and Grayson work on Brandon, who is Brent's brother, the other boy, I guess, in this case, and they work on both of them for the matchup until Dalton Castle is able to get the tag in, and he takes out all of his opponents. But the Righteous put him out to the outside, and they win the matchup with a triple flip powerbomb. It's kind of the Shield triple power bomb, but it was more elevated, and a flip over is the best way that I can describe it. There's a name of it. They did not say it. After the match, the Dark Order cut a promo saying that they are nuts. If the Righteous want to go nuts, that they can go nuts, and that they kind of gotten over that they have lost Stu Grayson from their group, but they've lost many of people before, and that they could still go after the Righteous and Stu Grayson. Next matchup, a proving ground matchup, Athena versus Trish Adora. Earlier in the night, we were supposed to get an interview segment by Kiera Hogan, but it is Athena in a Kiera Hogan shirt, or it might have been an Athena shirt, but it was definitely a wig, and she was intimidating Kiera Hogan, saying that it is on period. And I will not lie to you. definitely thought it was Kiera Hogan cutting the promo, and she eventually pops up and takes out Athena, saying she needs to keep her name out of her mouth, and that is on period. So, was it Kiera Hogan the whole time? You can be the judge. So, this matchup involved lots of chain wrestling in the beginning until it goes to the outside, and once they get back in the ring, Athena targets the leg of Adora. Trish fights back, but she cannot do anything after being hit with O-Face. After the matchup, Athena tries to attack her, but Kiera Hogan comes out to save the day with a trash can lid. And then she takes a long time to get a table into the ring. And by the time that she gets the table into the ring, Athena spears her through it, and they brawl into the back, continuing their intense beef. That might end next week, as it was announced a little bit later, but I'll mention it now, by Stokely Hathaway and Tony Khan of the board of directors. I thought they were called a committee for a second, but I believe it's the board of directors is what they're called, and that it will be a Chicago street fight, Athena versus Kiera Hogan, next week. And they have mentioned that they will be taping several matchups during AEW Collision this Saturday. So if you're watching this today, you got, when I'm uploading it on Friday, you got a day. If you want to really go see some ROH matchups, go to the Collision show, because they would tape I don't know how many. I'm just a TV reviewer. They will tape at least one match. That was announced. They're taping one match. So that is the case. Next matchup, Mark Briscoe versus Anthony Henry. The Workhorsemen cut a promo before this matchup in the back, and they call out FTR, which is very weird, because I was like, when the hell was the last time we saw FTR in ROH? Because I remember they randomly came out during one episode. But anyways, Anthony Henry is mad because they were hit by the Shatter Machine, or the Big Rig, whatever you call it. Their words, not mine, and that they're upset at FTR. But guess what? FTR is not there tonight. They want to take their aggression out on their friend Mark Briscoe. So that is the basis of this matchup. Mark attempts a froggy bow early on, as this is a very fast-paced matchup, but Henry moves out of the way and follows it up with a tornado DDT and an armbar, a Fujiwara armbar, to be exact. Henry then tries to keep Mark grounded until he is fighting back with his redneck kung fu. Both men then engage in a chop battle that is finalized by Mark hitting a big lariat and winning the match with a J Driller. Now something very interesting takes place. We get a bit of a road rage. Now, if you have watched ROH TV for a long time prior to these Honor Club days, every once in a while, they would do their TV tapings in front of an audience, but every once in a while on the TV episode, they would go to a house show, and whatever, a handful of matches that happened at the house show, they would show on that week's TV. So we kind of got a bit of a throwback to that as we go to Colorado Springs, which I don't know when they were, because they weren't in Colorado Springs this week. Might have been last week, might have even been the week before. But we get a match, not in the Honor Zone, Honor Club, Universal Studios Orlando, to quote JB, Jeremy Borash. We are in Colorado Springs as Daniel Garcia takes on DKC with Excalibur and Daddy Magic Matt Menard on commentary. Another side note, there's a man in a Joker Pentagon L0M mask, which is, I want to point out, because there's also a fan that had the same mask on that they always show on camera at the Universal Studios Orlando. So the moment that we flip back and we're in Colorado Springs, we see another man in the same mask. Just wanted to point that out. DG is aggressive very early with lots of forearms, and DKC uses his first rope break after DG has an STF in. I guess so. I was just trying to rush into the match. I kind of need to build up the match, because Daniel Garcia is teased and wants to face Katsuyori Shibata, who's the current pure champion, and Katsuyori Shibata has trained DKC, so it's a bit of a test your might, I guess you could say. DKC fights back with several karate chops, and DG uses his first rope break after he's in an abdominal stretch, but he quickly recovers with a Walls of Jericho, or Boston Crab, but you can get why I called it the Walls of Jericho, because he's in the Jericho Appreciation Society. And Daniel Garcia wins the match with the Dragon Tamer. Then we go back to the Honor Zone, Universal Studios Orlando, to see Sky Blue versus Via Van. Sky has the advantage until Via Van hits her with a flying kick to the face, and Van continues her aggression with several different variations of kicks, but Sky Blue hits a Hurricane Rana and a Skyfall for the win. Now we have the main event for the 6-man tag team titles, The Embassy versus Action Andretti, AR Fox, and Darius Martin. The Embassy cut a promo before the match saying that they've been tag champions for a long time, and they run down their opponents. Nothing of real importance. Fox and Cage start the match off, and Cage curls Fox after Fox attempts a pinfall attempt. This is then followed by Martin and Khan, or Darius Martin and Khan tagging in, which leads the Embassy to cornering Darius and Andretti once he tags in, until Andretti hits a Canadian Destroyer on Brian Cage, and the group of Fox, Andretti, and Martin do dives to the outside to all of their opponents. And then, once they get back into the ring, Andretti again targets Cage, and Fox and Andretti hit a springboard 450s on Khan for 2 counts. Andretti then picks up Cage for a neckbreaker, but cannot capitalize any further as Cage wins the match for the Embassy with a gory special flatliner. It was a very good main event, very fast-paced. I noticed that I said, look, this isn't my fault. Cage was in the matchup, Khan was in the matchup and got pinned. There's very little, tags. I think there was a lot of illegal men in the matchup when, the whole tag rules did not matter because it's still a great, very fast-paced matchup and a great way to end this episode of Ring of Honor Television. So, like I said, hopefully my next video will be under better lighting and circumstances, but we don't know who we will see. It should be, I hope this is a great weekend for everyone. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.